My name is Leonard Fox, 40 years old, a freelance graphic designer from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I thought I was invited to a family dinner to catch up, maybe share a few laughs. I was wrong. The table was packed. My parents, my older brother, my younger sister, my cousin, my uncle, all eyes on my brother as he bragged about his shiny new house, a sprawling mansion he'd just bought. I sat there forcing a smile while he leaned across the table, his voice dripping with smugness, and said, "Maybe in 20 years you'll catch up." The room laughed. My parents nodded proud. I felt my stomach twist, but I didn't snap. I just smiled, stood up, and walked out, their laughter echoing behind me. The next day, my phone buzzed 15 times, missed calls, texts, voicemails from them. I picked up once, smirked, and said 20 years. Listen to this. Then I hung up. They thought they could humiliate me and I'd just take it. They had no idea what I was about to do. CTA. If you want to see how I turn their mockery into my victory, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell. Don't miss what happens next. It's a story you won't believe. That night, I couldn't sleep. My brother's words, his smug, "Maybe in 20 years," burned in my head, but they weren't new. I'd heard versions of it my whole life. I'm Leonard Fox, a freelance graphic designer in Fort Wayne, Indiana, scratching out a living with my wife, June, and our kids, Eli 10 and Iris 7. We had a modest house, a decent life, but to my family, I was the underachiever. My older brother, Glen, was their golden boy. A hotshot real estate broker, he closed million-dollar deals and flaunted his wealth: new cars, tailored suits, a Rolex that caught every light. My parents, Clarence and Betty, ate it up. At every family gathering, they'd beam at Glen's stories, nodding like he was preaching gospel, while my work got a shrug or a backhanded comment. Graphic design. That's cute, Leonard, but when are you going to get a real job? My father, Clarence, once said at Thanksgiving right in front of my kids. It started when we were young. Glen was the high school quarterback, the prom king, the one who could do no wrong. I was the quiet kid sketching in notebooks, good enough to win art contests, but never enough for my parents' praise. My mother, Betty, would say Glen's going places while handing me a dish to wash. My younger sister, Nina, followed their lead, staying quiet or giggling when Glen teased me about my hobby of a career. Even my cousin Owen and Uncle Leonard joined in, tossing out jabs about my small clients or my beat-up car. Family dinners were a ritual of comparison: Glen's latest deal versus my latest logo project. I'd sit there biting my tongue while Eli and Iris played in the next room, oblivious to the tension. June saw it all. She'd squeeze my hand under the table when Clarence bragged about Glen's new office, or Betty showed off photos of his vacation home. "They don't get it," June would whisper later, her voice steady. She believed in me, always had, even when I doubted myself. But those dinners chipped away at me. One Christmas, Glen handed me a business card for a real job at his firm, smirking as he said, "You could be my assistant." The room laughed. I forced a grin. Another time at a barbecue, my uncle told everyone I'd never leave Fort Wayne because I lacked ambition. Owen chimed in, saying my designs were fine for small-time stuff. I'd go home, stare at my computer, and wonder if they were right. The worst was last year's anniversary party for Clarence and Betty. Glen flew in from Chicago bragging about his new penthouse. I'd just landed a decent contract with a local startup, my biggest yet, and thought I'd share the news. Betty cut me off to ask Glen about his next deal. Clarence didn't even look at me. Nina changed the subject to Glen's new boat. I sat there, my plate untouched, feeling like a guest in my own family. June leaned over and murmured, "You're enough." But it didn't feel like it. I'd spent years trying to prove myself, bringing my portfolio to dinners, mentioning new clients, hoping for a nod of approval. It never came. That dinner last week, the one where Glen mocked me about catching up in 20 years, was the final straw. It wasn't just his words. It was the way everyone nodded like I was a joke they all agreed on. My parents didn't defend me. Nina looked at her plate. Owen smirked. My uncle clapped Glen on the back. I realized then that nothing I did would ever be enough for them. They'd built their world around Glen's success, and I was just the shadow they stepped over. But as I lay awake that night, something shifted. I wasn't going to beg for their respect anymore. I had June, Eli, Iris, and my own dreams. I was done playing their game. The next morning, I got to work. My brother's sneer and my family's laughter still stung, but I wasn't going to waste energy arguing with them. I'd spent years swallowing their jabs, and I was done. June sat across from me at our kitchen table, her coffee steaming, and asked, "What's your plan?" "Leonard." Her voice was calm, steady, like always. I leaned back, staring at my laptop, and said, "I'm going to show them who I am." That meant building something bigger than my freelance gigs, something they couldn't ignore. I called my old friend Bruce Cole, who ran a small advertising agency in Fort Wayne. We'd known each other since college, back when I was sketching logos for fun, and he was pitching ideas to anyone who'd listen. "Bruce," I said, "I need to step up my game. Can you help me?" He didn't hesitate. "Let's make you stand out," he replied. We met at his office that afternoon, a cramped space filled with mock-ups and coffee cups. Bruce suggested creating a professional website to showcase my designs, logos, branding, web graphics. "You've got talent," he said, "but you're hiding it." We spent hours planning a sleek portfolio, client testimonials, and short videos of me explaining my creative process. I poured everything into it, staying up late to refine every detail. Next, I reached out to my friend Clara Dean, a financial consultant who'd always believed in my work. Over lunch at a diner, I told her about the dinner and my family's dismissal. She shook her head. "They don't see you," she said, "but others will." Clara offered to connect me with her clients, small businesses needing branding. Within days, she sent me 3 leads: a local bakery, a tech startup, and a gym chain. I pitched to all 3, tailoring my designs to their vision. The bakery owner loved my pitch and signed a contract for $5,000. It wasn't Glen's $1 million deals, but it felt like a start. I also called my cousin Owen, who'd moved to Jackson, Wyoming years ago. He'd always been distant, but he wasn't as caught up in my family's drama. "Owen," I said, "I'm thinking about leaving Fort Wayne. What's Jackson like?" He laughed. "It's quiet, Leonard. Wide open spaces, good for a fresh start." We talked for an hour about the town, its small businesses, tight-knit community, and growing art scene. I could picture Eli and Iris running through open fields, free from the weight of family expectations. June overheard and nodded. "Jackson could be good for us," she said. I started researching housing costs, schools, freelance opportunities. It wasn't a plan yet, just a seed. My days became a blur of work. I redesigned my portfolio, shot videos with Bruce's help, and followed up on Clara's leads. The tech startup liked my mock-ups and offered a $10,000 project for their website. I felt a spark I hadn't felt in years. But then my phone buzzed, a text from Nina. "You okay?" she wrote. I stared at it, remembering her silence at the dinner. I didn't reply. Clarence called later, leaving a voicemail. "Leonard, we need to talk." I deleted it. Their voices didn't matter anymore. I was building something, maybe not a mansion like Glen's, but a life that was mine. By the end of the month, my website was live and I had 2 new clients. Bruce pushed me to post about it online, so I shared a link to my portfolio on social media. The response was instant: likes, comments, even inquiries from local businesses. For the first time, I felt seen, not as Glen's lesser brother, but as Leonard Fox, the designer. June watched me work one night and smiled. "You're doing it," she said. Eli and Iris ran in, asking to see my latest logo. Their excitement fueled me. I wasn't just proving my family wrong. I was proving to myself I could be more. 2 months later, my work paid off. I landed a $20,000 contract with the tech startup I'd pitched, to designing their entire website and branding package. It was my biggest project yet, a chance to prove I was more than my family's punching bag. I spent days sketching layouts, tweaking fonts, and presenting drafts, my confidence growing with every approval. Bruce Cole, who'd been guiding me, clapped me on the shoulder after a late-night session. "You're killing it, Leonard," he said. June beamed when I told her, and Eli and Iris begged to see the mock-ups, their eyes wide with pride. I posted a cryptic update on social media, "Big things coming." No details, just enough to stir curiosity. The likes poured in, but so did a message from Nina. "What's this about?" I left it on read. My family's group chat lit up. Owen sent a snarky text. "What, you finally got a real job?" Clarence followed with a voicemail, his tone sharp. "Leonard, don't start acting too big for us." I ignored them both, but their words gnawed at me. They weren't used to me succeeding, and it showed. Betty called next, leaving a message about a family barbecue to celebrate Glen's latest deal, a commercial property worth $3 million. "We'd love to see you," she said, but it felt like a trap. I told June I wasn't going. She nodded, her hand on mine. "You don't owe them anything," she said. I kept working, pouring my energy into the startup project. Clara Dean sent another client my way, a boutique hotel needing a full rebrand. I met the owner, pitched a modern logo and website, and walked away with a $15,000 deal. My inbox was buzzing with inquiries, some from businesses I'd never heard of, all thanks to the portfolio Bruce helped me build. I shared another post online this time, a screenshot of my website's homepage captioned, "Building My Own Path." The response was overwhelming: shares, comments, even a message from a local news outlet wanting an interview. I was starting to feel unstoppable. Then came the barbecue. I didn't go, but Nina called afterward, her voice shaky. "It wasn't the same," she said. "Glen was bragging, but everyone kept asking about you." I stayed quiet, letting her talk. She admitted the family was rattled. Clarence and Betty were upset I'd skipped their event, and Glen was annoyed my posts were getting attention. "They think you're showing off," she said. I almost laughed. Showing off? I was just living my life. I told Nina I was busy and hung up. The next day, Glen posted online about his new deal, a flashy photo of him shaking hands with a client. The comments were full of praise, but I noticed something new. A few people mentioned my work, saying they'd seen my designs. It stung him, I could tell. My phone kept buzzing. Betty sent an email, long and rambling, about family loyalty and how I was changing. Clarence called again, his voice colder. "You're embarrassing us." I didn't respond. Their panic was clear. They were used to me being the quiet one, the one who took their jabs without fighting back. Now I was outshining Glen in my own way, and they couldn't handle it. Owen texted again, this time, less smug. "Hey, can we talk?" I ignored him. Leonard Pratt. My uncle even left a voicemail, his tone softer. "Let's clear the air." I deleted it. They weren't sorry, they were scared. Scared I didn't need them anymore. June and I talked that night. She asked if I wanted to confront them. I shook my head. "They don't deserve my energy," I said. Eli overheard and asked why Grandpa Clarence was mad. I hugged him and said, "Some people don't like seeing others shine." Iris climbed into my lap, showing me a drawing she'd made, a logo, she said, for my business. I laughed, my heart full. My family could keep their barbecue and their drama. I had my own momentum now, and nothing was going to stop me. The next week, I doubled down. My family's barbecue and their desperate messages only fueled me. I wasn't going to let their drama slow me down. With the tech startup project wrapping up, I hired a part-time assistant through Clara Dean's network to handle emails and scheduling. This freed me to focus on design work, and I pitched to 2 more clients, a local coffee chain and a nonprofit needing a rebrand. Both signed contracts, $12,000 for the coffee chain, $8,000 for the nonprofit. Bruce Cole helped me polish the proposals, his feedback sharp and practical. "Keep pushing," he said over coffee. "You're building something real." I felt it too, a momentum I hadn't known before. June and I started planning our move to Jackson, Wyoming. I called Owen again, asking about real estate agents and schools. He was more open this time, saying Jackson's got a good vibe for families. We spent evenings researching houses online, narrowing it down to a 3-bedroom ranch with a big yard for Eli and Iris. June took charge, contacting a realtor to schedule virtual tours. "This feels right," she said, her eyes bright. I agreed. Fort Wayne held too many memories of being overlooked. Jackson was a clean slate. We listed our house for sale, and Eli and Iris helped pack their toys, excited about a new adventure. Iris asked if she could have a treehouse in Jackson. I promised we'd build one together. I kept posting online, sharing snippets of my work, logo sketches, website previews, client feedback. Each post got more traction, with comments from strangers praising my designs. Clara Dean shared my portfolio with her network, landing me a call with a Denver-based retailer wanting a full branding overhaul. I spent hours preparing sketching ideas and practicing my pitch. The retailer offered a $30,000 contract, my biggest yet. I signed it, my hands shaking with excitement. June hugged me tight when I told her. "You're unstoppable," she said. Eli drew a picture of me as a superhero, cape and all, and taped it to my monitor. But my family wasn't done. Nina texted again. "Why are you ignoring us?" I didn't reply. Then Glen commented on my latest post. "Nice hobby, Leonard. Don't quit your day job." It was meant to sting, but it just made me laugh. I left it there, letting his pettiness sit for everyone to see. Betty sent another email, shorter this time. "You're breaking our family apart." I archived it without responding. Clarence left a voicemail, his voice tight. "This isn't how we raised you." I deleted it. Their attempts to pull me back were failing, and they knew it. Owen messaged asking to meet for a drink. I ignored him. Even Leonard Pratt, my uncle, texted, "You're making a mistake." I didn't care. The cracks in their world started showing. A friend from Fort Wayne told me neighbors were gossiping about Glen's latest deal falling through, a bad investment that cost him thousands. Betty and Clarence were arguing, more stressed about money and their social standing. Nina called one night, sounding nervous. "Things are tense here," she said. "Glen's in trouble and Mom and Dad are upset." I listened but didn't engage. She hinted they'd heard about my house being for sale, and it rattled them. "Are you really leaving?" she asked. I said I'm doing what's best for us, and hung up. The next day, I saw posts online from distant relatives speculating I was running away. Some even claimed I was jealous of Glen. I let the rumors swirl, focusing on my work and our move. June and I finalized the sale of our house, getting a fair price. We packed more boxes, and I booked movers for Jackson. I posted one last update from Fort Wayne: new chapter soon. The comments exploded, support from clients, friends, even strangers. My family's silence was deafening. They were losing their grip, and I was gaining mine. Weeks later, their downfall deepened. Glen's real estate ventures hit a new low when a client sued him over a botched property deal, claiming he'd misrepresented the value. The lawsuit demanded $75,000, and whispers spread that Glen couldn't pay. His social media went dark, no more photos of luxury cars or client handshakes. A contact in Fort Wayne told me Glen was scrambling to borrow money, but banks were turning him away. His golden boy image, the one Clarence and Betty had flaunted for years, was cracking under the weight of his own mistakes. I didn't reach out. I'd spent too long in his shadow to care now. Clarence and Betty faced their own reckoning. Their obsession with appearances had cost them their standing in the community. A local charity they'd chaired for years asked them to step down after Betty snapped at a board member who praised my designs. The incident made it to a community forum online, where people called them out for their bitterness. Clarence tried to save face, hosting a neighborhood meeting to set the record straight, but it backfired. Attendees questioned why they kept dismissing my success. "They're jealous of their own son," one neighbor posted. Betty called me, her voice trembling. "You're tearing us apart." I stayed silent and hung up. Clarence sent a text. "We deserve better than this." I didn't reply. Nina tried to play peacemaker again. She showed up at my house uninvited while June was packing boxes for our move to Jackson. Glen's in over his head, she said, her hands fidgeting. She revealed Clarence had dipped into his retirement savings to help Glen, leaving them strapped. Nina begged me to talk to them, saying, "We're family, Leonard." I looked her in the eye. "Family doesn't belittle each other," I said. She left without another word, her face pale. I felt a pang but pushed it aside. I wasn't responsible for their choices. Owen and Leonard Pratt weren't faring much better. Owen's marketing firm lost another major contract when a client chose my branding services instead, citing my fresh perspective. He sent me an email trying to sound casual. "We could collaborate, you know." I didn't respond. Leonard Pratt's car dealership was hit with bad reviews after he tried to leverage Glen's name in ads, only to be called out for false promises. Customers turned to competitors and his sales plummeted. He left me a voicemail. "Let's put this behind us." I deleted it. Their attempts to reconnect weren't about reconciliation, they were about saving themselves. The gossip in Fort Wayne grew louder. A local business owner posted about my work, saying I'd revitalized their brand. Others chimed in, sharing how my designs had boosted their sales. The contrast was stark. My family's complaints about me were drowned out by praise from the community. Their narrative that I was the failure was falling apart. People were seeing the truth, and it stung them. Clarence and Betty stopped hosting events. Glen avoided public appearances. Owen and Leonard Pratt kept a low profile. Their world built on putting me down was collapsing. June, Eli, and Iris kept me grounded. We were days away from moving to Jackson, our new home waiting. June handled the final paperwork, her calm focus balancing my restless energy. Eli asked if we'd see Clarence and Betty in Wyoming. I said, "We're starting fresh, buddy." Iris showed me a sketch of our new house, complete with her dream treehouse. I hugged them both, grateful for what mattered. My family's chaos was their own making. I was ready to leave it behind. Days before our move, they fought back. My family's world was collapsing, and, instead of facing their mistakes, they turned their anger on me. Betty started it with a public post on a Fort Wayne community page claiming I'd abandoned my roots for fame. She wrote that I was ungrateful, turning my back on the family that raised me. The post got traction, some neighbors liked it, others argued back, pointing out my success. A local business owner commented, "Leonard's designs are putting Fort Wayne on the map." That only made Betty double down. She replied, "He's changed, and not for the better." I saw the post while checking my phone at breakfast. June read it over my shoulder and shook her head. "She's lashing out," she said. I nodded, unfazed. I wasn't going to engage. Clarence took it further. He called a radio show that covered local news, venting about how I'd disrespected them by moving to Jackson. "My son thinks he's too good for us," he said, his voice shaking with indignation. The host pushed back, mentioning my recent work with local businesses. Clarence stumbled, muttering about family loyalty before hanging up. A friend sent me a clip of the segment and I listened once before deleting it. Eli overheard and asked why Grandpa was so mad. I ruffled his hair and said, "Some people don't like change." Iris chimed in. "Are we still going to Wyoming?" I smiled. "You bet we are." Glen jumped in next, posting a long rant on his social media. He called me a sellout who was chasing clout instead of supporting my family. He claimed my success was luck, not skill, and that I'd crash and burn in Jackson. The post backfired. My clients, people like the coffee shop owner and the nonprofit director, replied with praise for my work, drowning out Glen's bitterness. A few strangers even called him out, one writing, "Sounds like you're jealous." Glen deleted the post within hours, but screenshots were already circulating. Bruce Cole texted me a laughing emoji with the message, "Your brother's digging his own grave." I didn't respond to Glen or the drama. My focus was on packing our last boxes and finalizing our new life. Nina tried a different approach. She showed up at our house with a letter handwritten and tear-stained. "Leonard, please," she said, handing it to me. "Read this before you go." I took it, but didn't open it right away. June and I sat down that night and I read it aloud. Nina apologized for staying silent during years of family jabs, admitting she'd been too scared to speak up. She begged me to stay, saying Clarence and Betty were lost without me. "We can fix this," she wrote. I folded the letter and set it aside. June squeezed my hand. "You don't owe them anything," she said. I nodded. Nina's words were sincere, but they came too late. I texted her, "I wish you well, but I'm moving forward." She didn't reply. Owen and Leonard Pratt tried to pile on. Owen posted a cryptic message online implying I'd stolen his clients. "Some people will step on family to get ahead," he wrote. It was vague, but everyone knew he meant me. Clara Dean saw it and called me furious. "He's lying," she said. "Those clients chose you because your work's better." She shared a post defending me, listing my recent projects and their impact. The truth was undeniable. My portfolio was stronger, and Owen's bitterness only highlighted it. Leonard Pratt went quieter, sending me a short email. "You're making enemies." I archived it without a second thought. Their tactics weren't working. The community was siding with me. The online attacks spread. A few of Clarence and Betty's friends posted in support of them, calling me arrogant and selfish. One claimed I was running away from responsibility. But the tide had turned. More people, business owners, neighbors, even distant relatives, defended me. A local artist I'd collaborated with wrote, "Leonard's talent speaks for itself." The nonprofit I'd rebranded shared a glowing review, tagging me. The contrast was stark. My family's accusations were petty while my work was earning respect. Their posts started getting fewer likes, buried under the support pouring in for me. June kept us grounded through it all. She organized our move with precision, coordinating movers and finalizing our new home's paperwork. Eli and Iris were buzzing with excitement, drawing pictures of Wyoming's mountains and planning their new rooms. I took a break from packing to meet Bruce Cole for coffee. He grinned, scrolling through the online drama. "They're desperate," he said. "You're winning by living your truth." I nodded, sipping my coffee. He was right. Every nasty post, every radio rant only exposed their insecurities. I didn't need to fight back. My life was my response. As we loaded the last boxes, Betty made one final move. She called, leaving a voicemail. "Leonard, we're sorry. Please don't leave." Her voice cracked, but it didn't sway me. I'd heard their apologies before, always tied to their own needs. I deleted the message. Clarence sent a text, "You're breaking your mother's heart." I didn't reply. Their attempts to guilt me were predictable, but I was done carrying their weight. June, Eli, and Iris were my priority. We were ready for Jackson, a new home, a new chapter free from their noise. In Jackson, we started over. The mountains loomed outside our new home, their jagged peaks a stark contrast to Fort Wayne's flat horizon. June unpacked with a quiet efficiency, turning our 3-bedroom ranch into a warm space filled with Eli's drawings and Iris's stuffed animals. The kids ran through the yard, chasing each other under a wide Wyoming sky. I stood on the porch watching them and felt a weight lift. This was what I'd been working for, a life where my family could thrive, free from the shadow of my past. Our new house, bought with the profits from my design contracts, was modest but ours. The sale of our Fort Wayne home had netted us $120,000, enough to settle here comfortably. I set up my office in a corner of the living room, my desk facing a window with a view of the Tetons. My business was booming. The $30,000 contract with the Denver retailer had led to referrals, and I signed 2 more clients, a Jackson brewery, needing a logo, and a regional tourism board, wanting a website overhaul worth $15,000 and $20,000 respectively. Bruce Cole called to check in, his voice warm. "You're making waves out there," he said. I laughed, grateful for his mentorship. Clara Dean emailed offering to connect me with a gallery owner who needed branding. My portfolio was growing, and so was my confidence. I posted a photo of my new workspace online, captioned "New View, New Chapter." The comments were overwhelmingly positive, with clients and strangers alike cheering me on. Back in Fort Wayne, my family's lives unraveled further. A friend sent me a news article about Glen's lawsuit. The client won, and Glen was ordered to pay $80,000 in damages. He sold his fancy car and downsized his office to cover it, but his reputation was beyond repair. Local businesses stopped working with him, and his social media stayed silent. Clarence and Betty retreated from public life. A neighbor told me they'd stopped attending community events, too humiliated after their radio rants, and online posts backfired. Their friends had turned away, tired of their complaints. Betty tried one last time, sending a package to our new address with a note. "We're still your family." Inside was a photo album of old holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas moments when I'd been the quiet one at the table. I set it on a shelf unopened. June saw it and said, "You don't have to carry that." I nodded. She was right. Nina reached out once more, texting, "I'm sorry for everything." I read it but didn't respond. She'd meant well, but her apologies couldn't undo years of silence while Clarence, Betty, and Glen tore me down. Owen and Leonard Pratt faded into the background. Owen's marketing firm lost another client to me, a Jackson restaurant chain that liked my modern designs. He sent a curt message, "Congrats on the win." I ignored it. Leonard Pratt's dealership was struggling with sales, down 30% according to a local business report. He didn't contact me again. Their world, built on belittling me, had collapsed under its own weight. The community's support in Jackson was a stark contrast. Our new neighbors welcomed us with a potluck, bringing casseroles and stories of Wyoming life. Eli and Iris made friends at school, coming home with tales of hiking trips and science projects. June joined a local book club, her laughter filling the house after their meetings. I took on a pro bono project for a community center, designing flyers for their youth programs. The director thanked me at a town meeting, and the room applauded. It felt strange but good, being seen for my work, not my family's drama. I realized I'd found a place where I belonged, not because of who I was related to, but because of who I was. One evening, I took Eli and Iris to the backyard. We started building the treehouse Iris had dreamed of, hammering boards under the setting sun. Eli handed me nails, his small hands steady. Iris painted a sign for it, "Fox Family Fort." I looked at them, my heart full. This was my family: June, Eli, Iris. They were the ones who'd stood by me, who'd believed in me when I doubted myself. Fort Wayne, Clarence, Betty, Glen, Nina, Owen, Leonard Pratt. They were my past. Jackson was my future. Looking back, I saw the lesson clearly. Family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about who lifts you up, who sees your worth. My parents and siblings had chosen to tear me down to measure their art.